What's up, guys? This is Gabe from SNP Speed Innovations, and today what we're going to do is we're going to show you how we do our harness testing. So what we have is a shop ECU. We have our laptop, my personal laptop. We do all of our tuning with. It's got all of our programs in it, stuff like that. We have a power supply that we use from Harbor Freight. We made a bunch of modifications, some adapters, so everything just plugs right into the harness. And we have everything live and ready to go. We have a distributor that we're using that we're going to use for just the we're just using it for a trigger pulse is all it really is. The harness that we're testing is actually a 2RZ, 3RZ complete harness, non-distributor. What that means is it's for the 97 to 2004. We also have, we built this harness so that we have small sub harnesses that plug into the coils, whether it's a 2-coil or a 4-coil. But our non-distributors are the same. So let's go through and take a look and see what's going on. So as you can see right here in the laptop, we have RPMs, manifold pressure, TPS, coolant temp, air temp, battery voltage. All the rest of this is just because it's got to mean something, right? So we don't have wideband plugged into it. Injector milliseconds, what you'll see is that in the injector time, you'll see that change as we give it RPMs. We have Noid lights plugged into the harness, so this way you can see them blinking. As we increase the intensity of the blinking, will magnify. It'll almost become almost like a constant light, and this number will increase dramatically. The ignition timing, though, it's an output, so we're not really seeing that too much. So ready, set, and here we go. So this is the distributor here, factory 22R distributor. We modify it so this way we can use it for a cam position sensor if we needed to, and then we have the factory pickup sensor here. This is the crankshaft connector. We made our own deal, so this way we can actually get the ignition, or the trigger pulse. And then this is the rest of our harness here. So you can see we've got Noid lights here. We're testing the first 2 injectors. We'll test the next 2 afterwards. We also have a coolant temp sensor, air temp sensor, and of course we're going to use a torch, so this way we can do the temperature on it, and we'll see how the temperature stuff reads. We have a TPS sensor, so what we'll do is we'll take this type of deal here and we'll do this, and we'll watch the percentage change on the laptop. So we have a shop ECU that we're using, just a shop ECU we use to test most of our harnesses. And here is our Harbor Freight power supply with our ignition switch on and off, and it is circuit protected with our relay stuff. So with all that said, let's get to it. This is all high tech right here. So we got RPMs. Yep. All right, let's take a look at the Noid lights and see what we got. Noid lights are flashing. These are injector pulse width on our ignition output number 1 and our ignition output number 2. Let's unplug these. You know they work if we speed it up, see the intensity. Yep. Let's take a look at the temperature here. So we have the coolant temp. Chino, what do we got for coolant temp over there?
Right now it's sitting pretty. 87 degrees.
87 degrees.
It's winter.
Winter in Havasu. Alright, so we'll put some heat to it. What do we got now?
95 and climbing.
Alright, what is our air temp sensor showing?
76.
Alright, what is it showing now?
Climbing 95 and up.
Alright, very good. Let's look at the TPS. 1, 2, 3, and there we go.
68% went all the way up.
And variable. Okay.
99.
So that's about it. It's pretty simple. It takes longer to set it up than it does to actually test it. With this said, we know that the distributor is working. The crankshaft sensor is working correctly, and we've seen RPMs. What we can do is pull the trigger. See what it looks like. 3,600 RPMs. It's basically tested and ready to go. Now it's important to note that before we get to this point, the entire harness is built off of a couple of sheets. similar to this. This is the Haltech sheet inside of the your Haltech software. This is the ESP. They have an NSP version that looks similar to this. And we double check. We use a continuity tester through a voltmeter, similar to that one. And we make sure all the pins are in all the right locations. We go through, check the box, make sure everything's in the right spot. Now what we're doing is we're just testing to make sure everything works right and everything reads correctly. We want to make sure that we don't have the TPS wires backwards. Make sure that the sensor stuff is working the way it should. So that's about it. That's how we test it. So it's important to note. That the reason why we test it like this with all the sensors, distributor, we can do a simulator. I have mixed feelings about that. Simulators, they work and they work well. A lot of companies use them. If we have an issue with the Haltech computer, we send that into Haltech. They plug it in the simulator, and they can do all this stuff through a simulator, make sure it works right. I like actually putting a sensor to it and making sure that it's working with that sensor, especially since our harnesses are built for the Toyota stuff and we're using Toyota sensors, except for the air temp sensors, the GM air temp sensor. But we want to make sure it's working with our sensors the way that it should be. And that's the reason why we're testing it like this. I want to make sure that the distributor works right and everything else is reading correctly. So thanks guys, appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.